the game changer. So much chaos, waste, confusion, and mismanagement. 54 nation-states and 10 dependent territories without much to show. A mix of rich resources, wonderful climate, great wealth potential, and lush vegetation, and abundant human capital, yet running around in circles, decade after decade, century after century. We've done the math, located the devil's arithmetic, filled the blanks, and concatenated the variables. And now is the time to introduce the Game Changer. Game Changer. Game Changer. The strategic introduction that changes everything in a significant way.
Change, they say, is the most predictable event in this life. And it is certain that the future is a dynamic that is dependent on many factors, the chief of which is the exercise of the human will in one direction or the other. You see, the loud noises, the explosions, the big bangs that are threatening the entire world right across the globe today are nothing but the death throes of an old order. A new dawn is about to break, and Africa will not be sad to see this old order go. However, one thing is clear. This time around, Africa has to be a contributor. Africa has to take up its own role in presenting the things that are needful towards the future, towards that day of peace, prosperity, and global progress. To do that, there are one or two things that we would need to look at in detail in Africa. We need to look at the 54 nation states of Africa and the 10 dependent territories and give a few guidelines as to the things that have to be done. Now, first of all, for those who were within that territory that was designated Nigeria on the 1st of October 1960, when we were born as a nation state, we were born with a purpose. And the purpose for which Nigeria was born was that we had a mystery to decode. A few years earlier, Ghana was birthed on the 6th of March in 1957 as a nation with a purpose. Ghana was born to provide leadership for Black Africa, while South Africa had a rebirth as the Rainbow Nation, and it had a purpose, and its purpose is that it has a problem to solve on behalf of the African continent. Now, South Africa is the nation that will help the Black African ultimately to help us to understand how we will relate with respect, with dignity, forgetting the shames of the past, relate with the rest of the world. Now, back to Nigeria. We said Nigeria, in its own turn, 54 nation states of Africa, 10 dependent territories, everyone has a role to play towards the future. Now, in Nigeria's turn, it is clear that Nigeria needs to decode a mystery. We need to unravel something that has been a challenge for progress, not only for Africa, but for the nations of the world. For the founding fathers of Africa, we look at a man like Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, who was a statesman who worked assiduously before Nigeria was established. But here in this view, in 1948, he made a statement that is worthy of repetition. Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa said, "Since 1914, the British government has been trying to make Nigeria into one country. But the Nigerian people themselves are historically different in their backgrounds, in their religious beliefs and customs, and do not show themselves any signs of willingness to unite. Nigerian unity is only a British invention." Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, 1948. Nnamdi Azikiwe was also one of the liberators of colonial Nigeria. In 1964, he said, and I quote, "It is better for us and many admirers abroad that we should disintegrate in peace and not in pieces. Should the politicians fail to heed the warning, then I will venture the prediction that the experience of Democratic Republic of Congo will be a child's play if it ever comes to our turn to play such a tragic role. Nnamdi Azikiwe. Obafemi Awolowo, the sage from the Southwest, freedom fighter, in turn said, and I quote, "Nigeria is not a nation. It is a mere geographical expression. The word Nigeria is merely a distinctive appellation to distinguish those who live within the boundaries of Nigeria from those who do not." Now, this was taken from his notes, Path to Nigerian Freedom, 1947. Now, the question is this: why on earth were the colonials insistent on such a volatile mix? What did they hope to achieve? And how on earth, looking at the way things have gone till today, will such a mix ever get to work? Now, while we look at that, I want us to look at even a greater mystery. Why does it seem like African nations just can't get it right? Have you ever wondered why people of African extraction seem to conform to a predictable pattern? Why is it that Africa has been cast in the role of the local idiot of the global village? A comic source of amusement, dependent on others, and a nuisance to most. Now, when we look at these issues, we see the puzzle that Nigeria was created to solve. Now, once we are able to understand how such a mix can ever work together within the boundaries of Nigeria, we have simultaneously solved a problem that has plagued Africa and the globe by extension. And if ever we're going to crack this problem, there are one or two things we're going to have to put into place quickly. First, I'd like us to remember that there's something that we call the architecture of thought. And a part of the architecture of thought is the use of what is called the EI, emotional intelligence, apart from the IQ. The EI, emotional intelligence. Now, at the national level, emotional intelligence reflects the ability to join intelligence, empathies, and emotions to enhance thought and understanding of international and global dynamics. Now, bringing it down, there are just two things I want us to look at right now, applying the architecture of thought. The first thing is this: a lie will remain a lie after 1,000 years have passed. A lie will continue to be a lie after 2,000 years have passed. The second affirmation: a faulty foundation never, ever auto-corrects itself. A faulty foundation cannot support the execution of a successful building project. A faulty foundation after 1,000 years will remain a faulty foundation. Time, prayers, emotions do not heal all problems. And these are the things that we need to note as we take our steps forward to unraveling the mysteries, to opening up the puzzles that have been put into place so that Nigeria, Africa by extension, and the globe will be facing a new future where peace, prosperity, and progress will be assured to all nations all over the world.